It was, according to the PR man in charge, Libya's coming out party. Last week, Colonel Gaddafi marked the 40th anniversary of his military coup with a spectacular floodlit bash. Hundreds of dancers reenacted Libya's history. French and Italian jets looped and screamed across the sky. And from behind a bulletproof screen, Africa's self-styled King of Kings looked on in full military regalia and trademark shades. With the release of Abdelbaset Al-Megrahi, the Lockerbie bomber, secured just days earlier, this was a celebration with a bold message: that Libya, a state steeped in oil, had arrived on the world stage. But beneath the bombast and PR makeover, how much has the Gaddafi regime, with its poor record on human rights, really changed?
Hell broke loose on me. They detained me in a solitary confinement for about 14 months. They blindfolded me and they took me for interrogation. They tortured me. They hit me on my soles. They hit me on my back. They even threatened me with electric shocks. So I always laugh when I read some people saying there's steps of reform. What steps of reform? What is this reform they talk about? I can't see it.
It's early evening and we're outside the ultra-grand Dorchester Hotel just by London's Hyde Park. It doesn't get much posher, much more establishment than this. Limos, chauffeurs and doormen. Inside, in the ballroom, guests are starting to gather for a very special celebration. And I've got an invitation here in my hand. It's on stiff, embossed card with the seal of the Libyan government. And it says, and I quote, "On the occasion of the 40th anniversary of the Great Al-Fatah Revolution, Mr. Omar Jelban, Chargé d'Affaires of the Libyan People's Bureau, requests the pleasure of your company." A short walk through the ornate splendour of the Dorchester's bar leads into a vast ballroom. There, London's oil aristocracy of Arabs and patrician British men mingle, sipping fruit juice from the dry bar. The ballroom is packed. There are maybe 500 guests, most of them men. A mountain of fruit covers the table, while a queue for a sumptuous buffet snakes across the room. But there's a whisper of paranoia too. A lone photographer is eyed suspiciously. People edge away from our microphone. Libya's been in the headlines for days now, and almost no one wants to risk being seen talking to the press. One of the few who does is Forad Nadi, director of the Muslim College in London. Libya, he says, is walking tall.
It's amazing. It's also one way of, I think, the Libyans being more confident and inviting much more people. Some of them may need to say thank you for the indirect support they've given over the years. I know people have been invited from Ireland, from Scotland to come tonight. Also very interesting is the good mixture between people from the Arab world, Muslims, non-Muslims, church leaders, politicians, and it sets the right tone for a really sort of comprehensive and total dialogue.
Obviously, the elephant in the room at the moment is the release of Mr. Al-Megrahi. How significant do you think that is?
That's really important for the Libyans, because more anything, this Lockerbie chapter, they want to close it up, because it has been the big issue between relationship between Libya and the West. And it comes cropping up in all kinds of situations. But what I'd like to see is people to be open-minded enough and to show that we can forgive and move on in life and open new chapters, because these two countries working together, Britain and Libya, can do a lot of benefit.
The new chapter has brought Britain to a land of opportunity in Libya, a new frontier awash with cash where fortunes are made. Manchester-based architect David Cash.
Well, we went out, were interviewed on a Monday, and by the end of that week we'd been to 4 different sites across the country, and 3 months later we'd been commissioned to design 7 universities. which seemed a very interesting and exciting proposition, because you don't often get the opportunity to design 7 universities in one go. We're talking about millions. So it's a big contract, yeah.
But if British companies are flooding into Libya, and there are at least 150 doing business there now, the traffic flows this way too. With a huge cash surplus from oil revenues, the country set up the Libyan Investment Authority, with London on their target list. Oliver Miles is a former UK ambassador in Libya and deputy chairman of the Libyan British Business Council. He explains the Libyan Investment Authority's role.
It's charged with spending or investing Libya's oil wealth for the benefit of future generations. They have various figures have floated around, but ballpark, let's talk about $100 billion in the kitty.
$100 billion?
$100 billion in the kitty. And now they're in the business of buying assets,
Property we're talking about here, or?
Property is a substantial part of it. Hotels, oil installations, refineries. In Italy, for example, they own substantial chains of petrol stations and things like that.
The Libyan Investment Authority is expected to open up a London base soon. Further evidence of the country's flourishing presence in London can be seen just a stone's throw from the Dorchester.
The building, as you can see, is an 8-storey office building with shops beneath on Oxford Street. Probably one of the best retail locations you can get in London.
Jeremy Gray, MD of estate agency James Andrew, has been scouring for central London commercial properties on behalf of the Libyans. This summer, he advised them on the acquisition of Portman House, a glitzy commercial premises on Oxford Street.
On the retail front, we've got New Look, occupy the whole first floor. We have ConocoPhillips, the oil company. I think possibly what attracted my clients to the building.
Why don't we go and have a look inside?
Of course.
When were you first approached with this instruction?
We have managed buildings for Lafayette for a number of years now.
That's the Libyan Foreign Investment Company.
And we've developed a very good relationship with them. So when they came to see us last year and said we're ready to spend some money now, we started putting feelers out to find out what buildings were available.
But this is exactly what they were looking for, some high-profile, central London.
Good-looking investment, but producing a good return.
And they paid how much for it?
We paid $155 million, which represented a 7.1% yield, which for Oxford Street shops is just unheard of. They're looking at long-term investment for the future of their country, I suspect.
Jeremy Gray told us he's now searching for potential additions to the Libyan Investment Authority's burgeoning portfolio, which also includes number 14 Cornhill, an office building opposite the Bank of England, bought last December for £120 million. And the Gaddafi family have been active on the personal front too. Saif al-Islam al-Gaddafi, the leader's best-known son, has also made a £1.5 million donation through his foundation to the Centre for Global Governance at the London School of Economics. He's also reported to have spent £10 million on a home in Hampstead. Libya's London connection is underpinned by an economy gushing with oil. Production is currently around 1.85 million barrels a day, making it the second largest of Africa's oil producers and Europe's single biggest oil supplier. Charles Gurdon, who advises companies operating in unstable business climates, explained Libya's strategic importance.
I think there are two reasons. One is that it's close to the European market, and so therefore it's on the right side of the Suez Canal. Secondly, it has a very sweet and very good quality oil. The other thing is that it's comparatively unexplored, and therefore there is potentially a lot more new oil and new gas to be found.
No wonder then that Libya is now the scene of a gold rush, with UK companies ranging from AMEC and HSBC to M&S and Rentokil. Tarek Alwan is a Libyan energy consultant who says his country is on the brink of a new era. What do you hope Libya will be like in 10 years' time?
Libyans hope to be like what you call it Dubai or Gulf states.
A Western,
yes,
North African state?
Yes, indeed. And if you go to Libya now, you will see a lot of new constructions, new projects, new buildings, new towers, new hotels. There's a lot of things going on in terms of infrastructure.
A few weeks from now, BP will complete a seismic survey of the Libyan coast as part of its 7 to 10 year $900 million exploration programme. The The 2007 deal was overseen by Tony Blair, who, it has emerged, has been a frequent visitor to the country since leaving